Welcome to the preview of the 1992 Formula 1 World Championship, brought to you by Microprose and GP2Joey. Last season was without any doubt the most exciting in the history of the sport, which culminated with an all-out shootout for the World Championship around the streets of Adelaide last November between four-time champion Alain Prost, two-time champ Ayrton Senna and the British hopefuls Nigel, Mansell and Joey Davies. There was only 8 points between them all, but after a dramatic 81 laps, it was 27-year-old Davies who ultimately claimed his first championship after a controversial last lap, last corner pass on Mansell. It was a sensational end to the year, but there was drama after the checkered flag, after a scuffle broke out between the two British drivers, leading to Mansell being charged by F1's governing body of bringing the sport into disrepute for hitting Davies. Mansell was eventually cleared by the FIA, but the decision has left a sour taste in the mouth of many teams and drivers as they prepare for the 1992 season, which kicks off on the 1st of March in South Africa, and the revamped Kyalami circuit, which returns after a year away. We then head to Mexico for round 2 before the samba dancing Senna fans descend on the Interlagos circuit for the Brazilian Grand Prix and round 3. Round 4 sees F1 head to Europe for the first time for the Spanish Grand Prix, where Davies made a memorable final corner pass on Mansell on yet another final lap to win last year in Barcelona. The San Marino Grand Prix is the 5th round of the championship around the swimmingly fast Imola circuit before the habitual trip to Monaco, where there is no room for error around the tight and twisty streets of Monte Carlo. Canada is next up for round 7 and the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, and then it's the French Grand Prix of Manicourt before the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, where the home fans are sure to be cheering to the rafters for either of the two top Brits, Mansell or last year's winner Davies. Germany is next up before heading over the Iron Curtain to Hungary, and then the scenic, sweepingly majestic Spa-Francorchamps for round 12 and the Belgian Grand Prix. Round 13 is the fastest, most exciting circuit of them all, the flat-out chicaneless Monza in Italy, where nothing other than a Ferrari victory will suffice for the delirious Tifosi, who will be cheering Senna and last year's historic winner and Ferrari teammate Michael Andretti, who claimed his first win on the hallowed circuit in the homeland of his father and 1978 world champion Mario. The Portuguese Grand Prix is the 14th round, won brilliantly last year by Davies, before the two final flyaway races to close out the season at Suzuka in Japan and Adelaide in Australia, which has been the championship deciding race for 5 of the last 6 years. But will we see a repeat in 1992? Well, it promises to be an absolute cracker of a season, so let's take a look at the teams and drivers gearing up for another year of intense and exciting racing. For defending champions McLaren, hope is that they will remain the team to beat in 1992. But the Honda engines are gone now, replaced by Ilmore, who were quite unreliable in the back of the footwork cars last year, and fears remain within the team that McLaren may struggle, especially in the first half of the season, as their new car continues to be delayed. For defending world champion Joey Davies, the aim will be simple, to try and defend his crown perhaps in a less dramatic way than how he won it. But the growing feeling up and down the paddock is that his new teammate will more than hold a candle to the Englishman. After announcing he would leave the team midway through 1991, Alain Prost is now gone and is replaced by the 22-year-old wunderkid Michael Schumacher, who was sensationally stolen from under the noses of the Benetton team at the Italian Grand Prix last year after a quite sensational debut the previous race at Spa. But the feeling is that while it is a punt, putting all their eggs in the Germans' basket, it is a risk worth taking and could lead to even more success on the track. Tyrrell have managed to get a supply of former McLaren Honda engines, which although rebranded as Mugen Honda, are expected to give the team a decent crack at scoring the occasional point, with driver Satoru Nakajima and Stefano Modena both staying on for a second season. Once again, Williams have performed well during winter testing and go into the new season arguably as favourites. With their previously problematic active suspension now seemingly sorted, hopes are high that they will be able to challenge McLaren and Ferrari for both championships. Mansell is still not fully recovered mentally from having the title snatched away from him by countryman and nemesis Davies in Adelaide last year, but the Isle of Man native has been quick in the new FW14V car, and certainly has been talking up his chances of going one better in 1992 and finally winning that elusive first title. For teammate Jean Alesi, the pressure is on, with the team making it clear their expectations of the young Frenchman are for him to win some races, challenge his teammate for the title, and not repeat his 1991 form, which saw him fail to register a single victory and only just saw him keep his drive. Brabham are struggling to stay afloat financially and have lost their three Yamaha engines, reverting to the underpowered but reliable Judd power plants. Drivers Martin Donnelly and Roberto Moreno are safe pairs of hands, but not much is expected from this once great team in 1992. 2 years ago, Arrows were fighting the likes of Ferrari, McLaren and Williams for race wins, but the team have fallen from grace spectacularly, to say the least. Their reliability last season was abysmal, despite the fourth fastest car and podium finishes that should have been a regular thing. It all unravelled though, and resulted in engine partner Ilmore severing its ties to link up with McLaren at Monza, leaving Jackie Oliver's team to use the expensive and unreliable Mugen Honda engines this year. The brilliant Johnny Herbert and Martin Brundle are gone now, replaced by the upcoming Finnish youngster JJ Leto and Britain's Derek Warwick, who returns full-time to F1 after being sensationally fired midway through last year by Benetton. But the team have much to do if they are to stop themselves sinking even further down the midfield pack. Lotus have managed to bag themselves a supply of customer Ford engines this year, and hope is high the team can continue to crawl their way back up the field after a decent showing overall last year, but start the first 4 races of the coming season firmly in Friday morning's pre-qualifying sessions. Mika Hakkinen stays on for a second year, and the young Finn will be looking to make a name for himself. He is, after all, a former rival of McLaren's Michael Schumacher and beat him several times in their Formula 3 days. Joining him is Britain's Mark Blundell, who, although overshadowed by Damon Hill last year at Brabham, is a safe pair of hands and should be able to bring the car home in the races, providing it's reliable. It's amazing Von Metal are still a going concern after the team only qualified for a single race last year. Not much better is expected this time around for drivers Olivier Griard and Andrea De Cesaris, who will both be no doubt hoping for greater things in 1992. There's no denying Leighton House are struggling to go racing and are a far cry from where they were a few years ago, but hope remains that with customer Porsche engines, the team will be able to keep the wolves from the door. For Brazil's Maurizio Gugelmin, the aim will be to try and impress other better financed teams to hopefully make a jump up next year. For new teammate, Austrian rookie Roland Ratzenberger, the only goal is to cement his staying in the sport that he has strived so much to race in. But his dream could quickly turn into a nightmare, as well as for everyone in the team. Benetton are in a kind of renaissance period right now, despite losing 4th place in the constructor standings last year to Footwork at the final race in Australia. Double world champion Nelson Piquet has retired, as is Roberto Moreno gone, both replaced by the British pairing of Johnny Herbert and Martin Brundle, who make the jump from Footwork. Winter testing has gone well for the Ford-powered team, and with the return of designer Ross Brawn, there is much to expect from them in 92 in terms of results, and dare we even say, the odd challenge for a win. BMS Dallara only just kept themselves out of pre-qualifying for the start of this year after a decent end to last season, and with team favourite JJ Leto having left for Footwork, stalwart Emanuele Pirro is joined by fellow Italian Ivan Capelli. Having poached the customer Ferrari engines from rivals Minardi, there is faith within the squad that a more fruitful year lies ahead in 92. For Italy's second most popular team, 1991 was a decent season, with the team scoring 4 points on their way to 8th in the standings, but the Ferrari engines are gone now, replaced with the unreliable and heavy Lamborghini V12s, which Pierluigi Martini and Gianni Morbidelli hope will be able to at least keep the team in the midfield in 92. Tying up with Porsche for 2 years back in 1990 delivered nothing but disappointment for Guy Ligier's team. Now they have a supply of Renault customer V10s, and hope remains high that Le Blues can tempt 4-time world champion Alain Prost out of retirement and into one of their seats, as well as becoming a part owner in the outfit. The Frenchman dazzled in his winter lap times around Paul Ricard back in January and more recently in Barcelona and Imola. But since then, Prost is yet to put pen to paper and sign a contract, insisting he is yet to make a decision, even with the start of the season only a few weeks away. 1991 drivers Eric Comas and Thierry Boutsen have also tested the car, but are waiting patiently for the four-time champ to decide if he wants to see what results he can get from what looks like a decent car and engine package. For Ayrton Senna, 1991 was spent defending his second world title under trying circumstances as Ferrari continued to provide the Brazilian with unreliable machinery, and despite 3 wins, his car was no match for McLaren and Williams over the course of the season. Teammate Michael Andretti impressed in the first year of Formula 1, scoring 2 wins, but winter testing has been difficult for the team, who look to have a new car that lacks downforce and overall grip. The Monster V12 engine sounds beautiful and is unquestionably the most powerful, but will it be enough to give Senna a 3rd world title? Or will the team continue to decline and, dare we even say, struggle to keep the Brazilian beyond 1992? LaRouche should have scored points in several races last year, but their reliability let them down, and unfortunately there is not much to suggest that the arrival of Peugeot as their engine supplier will improve things. Aguri Suzuki is gone, replaced by the much-fancied young Italian Alessandro Zanardi, who will partner Eric Bernard, who stays on for another year with the team. As debut seasons go, 1991 was a mixed bag for Eddie Jordan's little Irish team. The car was fast but super unreliable with the customer Ford engines, and the team should have scored more than the 2 points they ended the season with, down in 9th place in the standings. Michael Schumacher is now at McLaren, which helped Jordan land a supply of Vilmor engines too, and Andrea de Cesaris has moved on, but the signing of young German and Mercedes sports car protege Heinz-Harald Frentzen is a mouth-watering prospect, and with Britain's Damon Hill in the 2nd seat whilst dovetailing his testing role with Williams, there is much to suggest that 1992 could be an even better year for the team. A limited budget suggests 1992 could well be another year of trying to survive for the effective Lamborghini Works team, who will start the season in pre-qualifying. In the team's 2 drivers, Eric van der Poel and veteran Michele Alboreto, there is speed for sure, but will it be enough to get the team into some races and, more importantly, keep their future within the sport secure? 1991 was a year of mediocrity for Joas Porsche, who failed to make progress after an impressive first year in 1990. Gerhard Berger and Riccardo Patrese surprisingly stay on for a 2nd year, and with increased sponsorship from the little-known Austrian energy drinks company Red Bull, hopes remain high that the team will sort their dire reliability record out and finally make the jump into regular points finishes this year. Despite rebranding the team as Andrea Moda, the old Coloni team qualified for only a single race in 1991, and there is not much to suggest the team will improve this season and may well find themselves struggling to even finish the year, let alone get out of pre-qualifying. Britain's Perry McCarthy makes his debut with the team and is joined by the well-funded Alex Caffey, who brings most of the team's sponsorship with him. So those are your drivers and teams for what is undoubtedly going to be a year of intrigue, excitement and fantastic racing, and we hope you're looking forward to it as much as we are. As ever, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in South Africa for the first round of the 1992 Formula 1 World Championship from Kyalami.